So, good morning. It is Erev Shabbos Kodesh. So, actually, very exciting news. I'm sure everyone's very excited about this. People thought the whole year would go by without the Mets winning a game. So, happy to say the Mets actually did win the second game yesterday, the doubleheader, and the Mets will not go this year winless. And I actually think they'll probably win at least another game in the month of April. Two games I don't know, but at least another game with 25 more days approximately to the month. I think they're going to win at least one more game. So maybe two games, I don't know, but I'm going to say definitely at least one more game. So that's a pretty big deal. So very exciting news that the Mets actually did win a game. So that's a big deal. Secondly, Shabbos HaGadol, Shabbos HaChodesh. Nissan's coming up, and Siva Shalom has a huge essay about this that talks about this is the month of newness, of its chadshus. Anything you want to try this month, the ability to recreate yourself new, and the ability to be new, and things you failed during the year, things that were difficult to accomplish, things that you couldn't accomplish, you tried. This is the month to really do it. There's a certain koach, just like the Bnei Yisrael left Mitzrayim. They turned themselves new, even though they were on the lowest level. And we have this koach that starts in a couple of days, starting with really Shabbos, Shabbos HaChodesh, and this is kind of one of the lessons we have in this parsha. There's many lessons in shmeeni. When we're taking we talk about korbanos, but we have a shtickle of a break, literally in the middle. It's a very interesting story that talks about, first of all, it's opening day, we mentioned with the Mets. An opening day of the Mishkan takes place with Chodesh Nisan, all the 10 things that took place on Chodesh Nisan. Really happy day the Shekhinah comes down. It's a day that commemorates really the creation of the world, the tachlis of the world. What's the purpose is really Hashem should live here. So creation was fulfilled on Rosh Chodesh, Birkas Kohanim, the Avoda. A lot of great things took place on Chodesh Nisan, but one of the most perplexing and interesting, complex stories really of Torah is nadav and avihu. On the happiest day, whether they sinned at Har Sinai, they looked at Hashem, but Hashem waited for them to die or punish them. Now, on the happiest day of ever, literally the happiest day, the day that the world was, the tops of the world was there. Hashem lives on this world. Literally, they created a moment where the best moment so far in the history of the world. Really, that's the purpose of the world, is Hashem should live in the world. And the Mishkan opening day, the Shekhinah comes down, the fire, all the people bow down, Birkas Kohanim, pretty big day. But nadav and avihu die. So we all have to scratch our heads over this because we have so many different things to think about, because the Torah really puts us in different directions. Age Zara, they brought Ketores without Moshe telling them, even though Rashi says Moshe would have told them to do it. He's supposed to bring a Eish of Hedjot. The fire comes down, but there's Eish that the Kohen brings. Kohanim bring Ketores. So if Moshe would have said do it anyway, what's the problem? We also know that the Medrash says that they said, and Gemara says, when these people, nadav and avihu, are talking, when is Moshe going to die? We'll take over. We're greater than them. Or they were drunk, because the next parsha talks about no drinking when you do avoda. And then in Bamidbar, they had no wife, they had no children. So many different areas that we're pointing to, but not because we're making it up. The Medrash tells us literally what the reasons are about nadav and avihu. So what's right, what's wrong? And if the real reason is Eish Zara, Torah says it, why are we looking for, they were drinking? It says Eish Zara. No children, no wife. But it says Eish Zara. So why are we kind of looking all over the place? And the other question is, if they're so great that Moshe says to Aaron, B'krovai Ekadesh, Hashem alluded to this. Hashem said, my house is going to be holy with the sacrifice of Kadosh people. And they thought Moshe and Aaron, something going to happen to them. Nadav and avihu. And Moshe says, now I understand, they're really greater than us. So, which is the bigger question of everything, is if they're so great, why did they do things that were against what they were supposed to do? And B, if they were so great, then why are they punished for not listening to Moshe or having children? Like, what's the problem? If they were greater than Moshe, if anything, Moshe should ask them for help, for assistance. What's this issue of asking Moshe for things if they were greater than Moshe and Aaron? The whole thing is very perplexing. So we're kind of thrown in a lot of different areas, and Sir Shalom has all these questions, and he tries to make an interesting point where there's one thing that your person's great, and then there's something called being a leader, being the manhig, being a rebbe, being a rav, being the rebbe, being the rosh yeshiva. There's something to that. And while someone could be a great Talmid Chacham and be a big tzaddik, fantastic, there's something inherently different and lofty and holy about being a rav, being a leader. There's some kind of shmirah. There's some kind of shmir elyona, that there's some protection that comes through the rav, through a rebbe. And when you're davuk, when you tie yourself, when you're close to the rav or the rosh yeshiva or the rebbe, you get this certain protection. He doesn't really define exactly what it is, whether it's extra shefa, whether it's ruchnius, whether it's extra gashmius, or just protection from harmful things. He doesn't really define exactly what it is, but the point is that there's two things happening here. One is, yes, they were great. Maybe they understood more Torah. Maybe they were smarter, but they weren't the leaders. And when you're a leader, you have a special shefa from Hashem. And our job as Jews is to be davuk, to either a chavrusa that's a Yireh Shamayim or a rebbe that's a Yireh Shamayim, because that person is going to have certain protections, whether it's because they're davening for the people all the time, whether they know situations, they know how to deal with people, they can give good eitzah, whatever that is. There's something inherent in that. And this kind of answers the question, really. They're so great, how could they do this? Well, that's the point. The higher you are on the totem pole, the smarter you are, the more independent you are, and the more thinking you could be the Lone Ranger. You know what? I know as much as the rabbi. The rabbi sits in the shiur, he gives the shiur. I know the sugya just as well. I can open Mishnah Berurah too. I can go to the internet and I can type in, ask a question to ask the rabbi or something and get that. What's this whole thing of asking the rabbi? Should I ask the rabbi what kind of car I should buy? Should I ask the rabbi what mortgage should I take out? And there are some people that do that. And I'm not here to say that's good or bad or ugly or silly, but there's a thing. There's definitely a thing where if you ask the rabbi and get advice from the rabbi, even whatever he says, but the point is that there's a kesher and you're davik to the rav of the rabbi, there's something there and there's some shmirah you get. And the more you succeed on your own, the more you say, you know what, I don't need this kesher, I don't need this closeness. Okay, he gives a shiur. I get online, I get a shiur too. You know what, the rabbi gives a Tuesday night shiur chumash. I'll do Tuesday night Gemara myself on MDY or something like that. What's this kesher business? And that's kind of really what the Sir Shalom says. And that inherent in this, and this is kind of really what takes place. The fact that they were great tzaddikim in their own right, there was no need really for them to ask Moshe and Aaron. The right thing is bring the Torahs. Moshe and Aaron did it. We should do it. Why do we have to ask? We know just as well as them. And this kind of explains also why they were punished. A, they lost the shmirah. And B, no children, no wife. Because again, they were not a makabel of shefa, so they're not mashbiah. Someone who doesn't really have a kesher with their parents, then they're not going to have a kesher with their children. Because again, that's something. I'm my own person. I did my own thing all these years, and my kids can do their own thing. There's no connection there, and that's really inherently that's a problem. We lose this special shmirah, what takes them down. The second lesson, I think, that also kind of draws a little bit along these lines, a little different, is the idea of l'gadcha bincha b'yamuhu lemar. Only time in the Torah, really, where the Torah says you should tell your son something about Tzias Mitzrayim. Nothing about Torah. Tell your son about Shema. No. Tell your son about Tefillin. Oh, Tzif Tzrayim, Seder, we have a whole song and dance, questions and answers, give out candies and whatever. Questions, a big deal. So I guess we don't have anything like that. What's inherent, what's really special with Pesach? What's the issue of the father also? Sometimes, many times, the children are smarter. My sons, one son, he hosted a Suda of Purim, over 20 students. He had a whole Suda of Purim. The other son's an engineer. And the little one is on his way to be smarter than me. Maybe he's not, maybe already he is. If anything, I should ask him about Torah's on Pesach. What's the Indian of the father telling the sons? And the Siva Shalom in Pesach, he mentions that, well, there's one thing the father has over the son. The father's closer to Har Sinai and closer to this Masorah. So even if the son is a greater tzaddik, there's something inherent in the father that he has the ability to say over Torah and is more of a stronger connection with the generation before. The son doesn't have that. As great as the son can get, the father will always be older and a closer kesher to Har Sinai. And that's something that's inherent in that. So Siv Shalom kind of picks up in these two areas. One, close to a tzaddik, because besides the shefa, there's also the idea of hispachtos tzaddik. When you are now subservient to the tzaddik, stand up for the tzaddik, get a drink for the tzaddik, open the door, wait when he's up to Shema, wait for him to go first. You kind of get this musar. You're kind of now under his musar davik. You learn from him, you get musar from him. And this actually gets this shmirah if you're machniah yourself to the tzaddik. So perhaps the Shiv Shalom was picking up the fact that not only did they not have a kesher with Moshe because he was a tzaddik and the leader like Aaron was, but they really lost out on these lessons that only Aaron and Moshe could have. I mean, you can imagine being close to Moshe and Aaron and not wanting to learn from them or to being on your own. Moshe, who's the leader, who spoke to Hashem, who literally, the Shekhinah was on his face, and Aaron, who is Rodev Shem Olav Shem. And if you don't have a kesher with your rabbi, who is a Moshe and Aaron, you got a problem. That means you either don't want to learn Musar, you don't want to be an Anav, you really don't want these things. So it actually makes a lot of sense now. While they walked into the Mishkan, either they had wine or they felt, I don't need children. There's no one giving me, kesher to me, so why should I have a kesher with somebody? And also the fact that they did Ketoris on their own. We're just as smart as Moshe and Aaron. We can do this as well. We don't have to listen to anybody. And we can kind of fly by ourselves. Shabbat Shalom.